Hello and welcome to Circuit Breakers interview series. I'm your host, Steve Semler, and today I'm joined by Micah Linehan, who's a founder at Asylum Technologies. Um, Micah, thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do at Asylum?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, so my background has been very exciting. I've done a lot of really cool things over the past 15, almost 20 years now, kind of really all around technology, and just got off of a really long 7-year tenure at Microsoft, where I was doing a number of different things, from being a principal program and product manager in the education market, as well as being a principal security and solutions architect for the US for the education as well, education marketplace as well. So been doing a lot of that. A lot of experience on the architecture and collaboration side. Security, cybersecurity has always been a passion of mine. Got to do some really cool things there. And now I've decided to take my time and get back to really what I truly enjoy, which is helping customers directly impact and increase their collaboration, connectivity, and security with Asylum Technologies. So really, really excited to be, running with that and creating new opportunities for organizations starting here in Minnesota.
Excellent. What inspired you to start your own business? What was kind of like initial spark for
You know,
taking that leap?
Yeah, I think one of the big things for me too is, I mean, obviously with how tumultuous the IT and the tech industry has been, over this past year, um, with just restructuring and a lot of things that they've done, which, we're in a huge transformation with AI, shaping that, reskilling resources and everything else. Um, it was very, very interesting. I started immediately getting hit up by colleagues, friends, and I started right around the same time I joined Microsoft. I started actually the Office 365 user group, now Microsoft 365 user group for the Minnesota and Twin Cities with my colleague Max Fritz. And so a lot of those people that I'd known had reached out and saying, "Hey, I'd love your help on this, love your help on that." A couple other businesses were like, "We'd love to get some time with you." And so, I kind of was doing that for the past few months in 2023, and now moving forward, I decided, let's just make it official and continue to ramp that up and accelerate. I'm busy enough as it is. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm feeling fulfilled, and I want to change and increase the collaboration and more importantly, kind of transform a lot of the security mindsets in Minnesota, especially in a medium business, corporate business, um, and getting those opportunities to do that. Been working with some really fantastic companies here in Minnesota so far, and looking forward to a lot more.
Cool. So based upon your experience, what's it going to take to shift that mindset for the decision makers?
Well, I think it's a number of different things. My experience at Microsoft has taught me that there are a lot of people that are very adverse to change in general in organizations, especially around security. I think there's a number of different solutions out there. I think there's a number of different ways to work with that. As I kind of look into my experience in working with some of like the zero trust architecture components and being a contributor with some of those at Microsoft, it's a great concept. It's a great application. I think it's definitely needed for all of our organizations, is to, never be true validation at the time of an event or at a time of an occurrence. Um, but that mindset gets a lot of pushback just in the nature of it's going to hinder collaboration, it's going to hinder productivity and everything else. And so, changing that mindset, there are a number of different tools that are out there that you can augment the collaboration or the user experience that doesn't just stop them in their tracks. And I think that when we look at that and understand the nature of our threats, the nature of phishing attacks, which is a huge,
Mhm.
huge thing, I think, for everyone. And it's really breaking it down to kind of, it's your employees, it's end user manipulation, it's social engineering. And you can't fault them. I think we all get caught in some of those. I can think to myself as I look at things and then I have to double check and look at them because of how sophisticated they are, that it's user training and communication with that is as important as the technology itself, but not being flexible, right? There's this paradigm of, security, functionality, usability, and securedness, and it's a huge thing that we have to take into account the user experience.
Absolutely. That almost kind of leads into my question I've got about what are some common misconceptions about running a business in the tech sector, and how do you address them?
Oh, I think, one of the things is the dynamic nature, especially as I look at like cybersecurity or just simply collaboration, is not getting stuck to one company, one vendor. And I know there's a lot of apprehension to that, but I also understand that we have to have a diverse landscape within the technology that we're doing, and simply making decisions based on financial mindset of we're just using this one tool because, and everybody has to use that tool, can hinder productivity in different sides of business. But also understanding that like running in an IT and a tech sector business comes down to understanding those other technologies as well, right? And being able to not just be a Microsoft partner or an AWS partner or a Google partner, the big three, or working with Adobe or these other individual ones, and being flexible, understanding the marketplace and making recommendations on what's going to work best for the customer, not necessarily self-serving to one specific, vendor, if you will.
Yeah, that interoperability and the whole landscape picture,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially in the cybersecurity side,
Yeah.
is important. Yeah. Um, as the landscape continues to change, how do you stay open and adaptable to change yourself? What do you do to kind of break the circuit of the routine and stay
Yeah.
focused on the?
Well, I certainly try and listen to what my kids tell me to do, and the technology and everything that they do and what they want to share and show me. And my son is certainly a tech head, just like just like I am. But I think for me is being very, very open and receptive to the technology as it changes and staying abreast of those changes, right? We want to really be able to take in and see what's coming. I think I'm always on my phone, even when I pretend to watch TV with my wife. I'm surfing, reading articles, researching components, looking into those things. And, I think one of the big things with that is the ability to find information quickly and reasonably now is easier than it ever has been. And I think AI will continue to really push that forward, of being able to bounce ideas off of somebody, necessarily that can reference good information, not necessarily bad information, but, being able to reference those articles and have, that natural language query, I think really will continue to evolve and help organizations like mine and like, everybody's evolve quicker and faster.
Yeah, staying on top of things that way makes sense. How many technology leaders love the technology? We're in it for the tech. We're in it
Yeah,
for the solution and things that it can do. Part of the challenge that I talk to people about is that a lot of folks have to put up with, or feel like they're putting up with, the frustrations of the people side or the business side
right.
of the whole enterprise. It takes time away from what they could be doing, working with the clients or spending time on building solutions or things like that. How do you
Yeah.
handle that?
Um, well, it's a lot. I mean, I can tell you that and everybody that like my after hours are a lot of doing those business things and getting off of a meeting, taking some notes, and trying to do outreach, trying to do, you know, connections, stay social, stay relevant with the technology trends that are there. And yeah, it's, you know, you do your consulting work, you're going and you're working with your customers, and you know, you're being and trying to be billable from that aspect, and then you spin around and you have another full-time job of, you know, the business operations side. And as you grow, I think, you know, number one is scale yourself and try not to burn out. And I think that's a huge component of it. And, you know, scaling what you can do and not trying to eat the elephant, so to speak, is a very important important thing to understand. I think you really need to have a gradual ramp, take things a little bit slower, be okay, be willing to say no to a project if you think it's going to overwhelm you or you don't think you're ready for it yet. And I know that's hard to say in a business sense and a business mindset, but I think understanding and being able to say no to a project is very important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have anything that you'd suggest for other business owners, business leaders on how to do that, that scaling of yourself?
Well, I think it comes down to time management, right? I think that's very important to yourself, and carving out dedicated time, whether it be in the morning, you know, hey, I'm going to do this for 2 hours, and specifically blocking and carving out that time of your schedule and dedicating it to that, is really how you manage that. And you know, I think, you know, from that saying no aspect, as much as saying yes, it really comes down to, you know, are we looking at, I've got these 2 hours every morning, right, where I do business operations, I'm tracking, you know, invoices, I'm tracking, you know, billable hours, what I'm doing, following up on email, everything like that. Like, that's my, I'm not doing anything with customers' time. If I find that a project would take me away from that time and cut into those hours, that's when you start readdressing and reassessing. And that's how you keep that time compacted, compartmentalized, because, you know, we also want to spend time with other people and be social and have fun. We can't just always be working. So
Yeah, those you hit on two things that I usually talk to my clients about. Time blocking, especially
yeah,
for the you know you have to do at the time of day when you know you're going to have the energy for it.
right.
Yeah, and people recognize that it's strategic to say no, to
Yes.
know what you're going to say no to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, so what's coming next for Asylum? What's coming up in your kind of in the next 3 to 12 months as you build out even further?
Yeah, so a few things that I'm really working on, obviously expanding my book of business, continuing to grow that book of business, looking at opportunities, scheduling out larger projects. You know, I think the initial conversations are great. I think from that standpoint, understanding what solutions we can help customers solve for. And I think that's something that's really important to me, is not just be there to, you know, consume time and waste people's time, but what problems can we solve for your organization? So focusing on that, even with the existing customers that I have, continuing to ramp and help them accelerate. Hopefully be adding a few team members. You know, I've got some good conversations with some colleagues in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area that I'd love to bring on board. I've got some pretty big partnership opportunities with a few other firms that I've worked with just in my time at Microsoft, as well as that partner with the user group that I co-founded. And, you know, I really, there's a lot of things. I'm going to be a busy person for the next, I think, few years.
Absolutely. Um, if it's relevant, would you share the kind of ideal clients? You know, who's going to be your best customer? Who should be looking specifically for you and Asylum?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, it's customers that want to do more, want to formalize more of their technology. I'm thinking to a customer that I'm working with right now that realize that they need data and compliance solutions and need to formalize their business more than kind of the startup that it was, or if they're looking to truly like transform some of their security practices, whether it's, understanding that there are vulnerabilities that they need to um, remediate, whether it's end user mind shift and change that's there. Um, we really love doing that. I think one of my favorite things that I like to do with my customers is office hours, which is just sitting down, and we have about 30 minutes of prepared content, and we'll go through and do a demo based on what they're looking, what the questions are really dictates the content. I know that just even when we did a lot of office hours work when I was at Microsoft and in the field, it was always, we have a presentation. We may not get to it. If the questions are great, we're going in a great direction and demoing things, we may have to push that off to next week. And that's completely okay. But there's content that's there, but it's helping, everybody learn together and creating a safe space for people to get on. And there's people that are always going to ask questions, and I find that if you buckle down and help them, they really tend to make the whole group better, because they have no problem asking even the most simple question that somebody may not want to ask. And so it's those kind of things are what really is my ideal customer, is helping really solve problems, solve whether it's a business problem and a business process problem that we know technology can solve, right? That's one of the things. Technology can solve a lot of things, but technology just existing as it is doesn't really solve anything. So, technical problems, people that want to learn, organizations themselves that want to learn how to do things collaboratively, and, people that want to get more secure. I think even from the learning aspect, explaining why you're turning on security features or why it works that way. Giving them exposure to not necessarily all the nasty, evil things that are happening out on the internet, but how it can affect your business and the why you should care. Because if you have, the employees vested in what you're doing, and hopefully they are, you're going to be able to grow and foster a lot more of a secure environment, especially when we combat those really, really easy threats and really easy targets that are our employees. So
Awesome. So, for watchers, contact Micah at Asylum. This is
yeah,
exactly the sort of thing that's helpful for folks.
yeah,
Absolutely. Okay. So thank you very much for your time today. It's really great meeting you, Micah, and learning
yeah,
more about
absolutely.
Asylum, your entrepreneurial journey. So to everyone watching, look forward to seeing you next episode. Thanks much.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone.